All right, welcome back, guys. We are going to start our next project today. It's going to be this fire pit. So it's going to look like this. Here's the plans for it. 30 inches by 18 is the base will be 18 and the top will be 30, and then we're gonna well, I guess not the base, but the bottom of the fire pit. We'll put a hole in the middle for drainage so we can let the water out. And then we'll build some little feet to put on the bottom so it stands up off the ground and looks nice. All right, so we're going to walk through some steps, introduce some new tools to you. I'll show you a few other things along the way, not just the fire pit, but we'll kind of take a look at some of the other tools Torchmate makes available to us. Okay, so what we're going to do to start is to build the firebox, and then we'll build the base after. Okay, and if we take a look, I'll open my SolidWorks file here. This is essentially what we're building. This one doesn't have the drainage hole yet, but I built this one in SolidWorks with a sheet metal tool. So if I flatten it, it flattens it out and gives us a pattern that if we cut this out on a Torchmate, all we have to do is fold along these lines to the correct angle and folds right back up, and the corners will come together and it'll look like the box here, and we'll have a nice box to weld our feet on the base and make a cool looking little fire pit. Okay, we're going to design it so that it fits on this was designed so that it fits on a 48 by 48 inch piece of material, so a half sheet. Most of the time we buy the sheets, they're in 4 foot by 8 foot lengths, so this will fit on half of one of those, 4 by 4. So whatever it costs to purchase the material for a full sheet, we can get 2 fire pits out of that. So, alrighty, so let's jump right into it and take a look. We're going to keep this plan handy because I'm going to refer back to that for dimensions and things as we get going. But so one of the first things I want to look at, I want to start with we're going to start with a square. It'll be real easy because we've already done some work with general easy shapes. So it's 18 by 18. And then we need to look at the size of these trapezoids that we're going to draw. So this one's going to be 9 inches in height, and it's going to be 30 across and 18 on the other side. Okay, so let's get into this. So let's start with our square. Go over here to our shapes tool, get a square, draw a random size square, doesn't matter. I got some graphics cards issues going on there. That's the VMware is getting a little laggy at times, but anyway, so we're done with that. We're good there. We can come in here and resize it to 18, and as long as we keep the proportional scaling locked, we should be good. Oh, we want to unlock it for this one. Yeah, that's what we want to unlock it so that we can get both sides to 18. There we go. In case the rectangle that we drew wasn't quite the correct size. So now we got a square, 18 by 18. Let's also place that guy. Well, actually, let's hold off because it's going to move it anyways when we start drawing some of these other shapes. Okay. Now, we do have a polygon tool in here, but to be honest, it's a little bit cumbersome. And I kind of wanted to show you that we have a whole bunch more options of shapes right here. In fact, we can draw some really complex shapes pretty easily with a couple clicks on this special tool right here that's under layout, and it's called custom parts. Now what this does is this actually launches a library, and this has all kinds of custom parts that we can use then to create different things, common things that we would use fairly regularly. For example, this circular flange right here, not uncommon at all to weld that onto 2 pieces of pipe to bolt them together, or maybe for a handrail to run some bolts into a wood surface or something like that to hold up a handrail. So let's take a look at that one. So you can see the way the design library works is it gives us a little preview up here, and then it gives us some parameters. So for example, it wants to start right here with an outside radius. So let's say we wanted an outside flange that was 1 foot in diameter. So the radius would be 6. And let's say that we wanted the inside radius. Let's say we wanted the thing 2 inches thick, so the inside radius would be 4, right? And then the bolt circle radius, that's the radius for the center of the holes. So if we set that to 5, that would put those directly in the center of the, if this is 4 and that's 6, then the center would be 5, the diameter of the center. And then if we come over here to the diameter or their hole radius, I prefer they give you a diameter here, but they didn't. They gave us radius. So let's say that we wanted a 1/2 inch diameter hole, so we'd have to type in 0.25, which could be a little confusing. Or if we wanted, say, like a 3/4 inch hole, we could do 375, which is half of 0.75. And then all we have to do, once we like the way the preview looks, all we have to do is click add, and it puts it down here into our queue. And then when we're ready to create that part, we just hit process. Now, I tell you what, let's change this from 4 holes. Let's make one that has 10 holes. And you see it automatically puts them in an array pattern like so. And let's add that one. And you can see we can modify and create some different ones over here and create them all at the same time. Okay, so if I hit process, it's gonna, that's why I said we wanted to wait on moving the square, but there they are. That's pretty trick, right? It's a pretty sweet little setup that we can use, and there's all kinds of really useful shapes in there. Sometimes I'll show you one this is a good one. I like to use this one. I'll show you one more that's, well, I'll point out a couple of them to you, but so under layout and custom parts, we've got a few that I use a bunch. I mean, the gusset comes in really handy. Has a little notch in it, so you can put it over a welded area. The bolt hole circle to weld a bracket, to make a bracket out of that. Let's see, where's our, oh, these tabs. These tabs are really nice because that's a common shape that we want to use quite a bit, and it can be a little tricky and cumbersome to draw one of those. Little pipe support silencer, so for you weld part of it on a pipe and you can bolt that piece of pipe to something. Bunch of different shapes and things that we can use. So we have a bunch of different options here and things that we can use. But I think to create our firebox, we're going to do it with a couple different shapes. What we need to draw now, excuse me, are the trapezoids. So we're going to click this button, and you'll notice that it's asking us for some parameters. So that's where we need to keep this sheet handy, because this will give us the information that we need. So 30 inches will be the width, okay, and the height will be 9. So we can go jump back into our Torchmate, and we lose the command when we bail out of it. So let's look back. So height's going to be 9, width's going to be 30. Now the inside part is 18, but it doesn't actually ask us for this dimension. What it asks us is the offset. So how far I want to offset from this 30. And it's per side. It's offset left side, offset right side. That way you can make an asymmetrical trapezoid if you'd like. So in this case, our offset would be 30 minus 18, right? So that gives us 12. But then that's per side, so we divide that in half and get 6. So the offset that we'll want for that is 6. So let's go back into the Torchmate and see if we can get that to work. So once again, layout, custom parts, and we're going to scroll to the bottom. It's on the very bottom, which is kind of nice. Just slide the mouse all the way down. Okay, trapezoid height, we said we wanted 9. Trapezoid width, we wanted 30. And trapezoid left offset will be 6. And the right offset will also be 6. Okay. I'll let you pause the video here if you want, or maybe watch me make this and then you can go try to make one and pause here if you want. But height 9, width 30, left offset 6, right offset 6. All right, let's add it to the queue. Okay, now I could add another one and we could try to do them both at the same time, but because I need to go back and look at the plans, I'm just going to process this one. and we're going to close it. Okay, now you'll notice it stuck it right up against this one, which isn't really what we want. So what I want to do is get these guys positioned in a spot where I can work with both of them. So the first step that I want to do, I'm going to turn off the show fill just to make it a little bit easier to see what I'm working with. So what I'm going to do here is grab the square, and I'm going to grab it by the middle nub, and it is on the middle, and I'm going to relocate it to the dead center of my 48 by 48 workspace. If your workspace is not 48 by 48, that's okay. It'll still work. Let's just set this to 24 and this one to 24. Oh, why didn't that one go? Oh, it's just that one didn't go. Let's try this again. So let's go 24 on the X and 24 on the Y. Yeah, there we go. Maybe just click back up into the other dialog box there. Okay, so that then puts this thing in the center. Double check it here. If your material size is wrong and you want to adjust it, you do that under Edit. Excuse me, you do it under Layout. There it is. Man, let me get this. So you're a little glitchy here, a little laggy, but material size down at the bottom. You click that and you just change these to 48 by 48. Which, by the way, this is a really good spot that if you accidentally zoomed and you can't find your drawing anymore, no matter where you zoom and whatever you do, it's just not showing up. That's a good way to kind of just zoom to get it back, is just go to Layout, Material Size. Just change this by an inch. Make it 49.0. And then when you click OK, it should zoom to show you the material size. So it brings us back. Then once you can see it, then you can go back and just switch that guy back to 48 by 48. Oops, wrong buttons. There we go. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is grab this one, and I want to position it directly in line with our 18 so that we can weld those together. So I think the easiest way to do that is to grab the top middle nub, this box right here, and line it up with the bottom middle nub of this one. So it's 24 on the X and 15 on the Y. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab it at the top. I'm going to make the Y 15. And we're going to go 24. All right, we got that one. Okay. So that one should line up. Now I need to get the others, and I need to create one on each side. So there's a way to rotate these, but I can easily add the top one by highlighting this. And this little command right here is the vertical mirror. That's going to flip it over a mirror vertically. So if I click that button, it flips it like this, right? You can see how it spins that object. So if I duplicate this one with a Edit, Duplicate, or a Control D, it's a shortcut. Okay, and then from there, I'll just, since it automatically highlights that one, I can just vertically flip that one. And I'm going to grab this now at this node and the bottom node, and I know my X is going to be 24. And I'm not sure, I could do the math to figure out the position of the top one. It's going to be up here somewhere, right? I can figure the math out and come up here, but easier to double check and make sure we got this pretty spot on. If I go grab the square again and click back to the top nub, it gives me the value of the top nub, and the Y needs to be 33. I remember that the center was 24. That's part of the reason we put it right in the center at 24. Okay, so this one then, if I switch this back to the bottom nub and change that value to 33, that's going to line that one up. Okay. All right. If you need to pause the video at any time, feel free to pause it and kind of work on some of these things. And you can break it into as big of or as small of chunks as you like. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab both of these, hold a shift and click that one so that I highlights both of them. And I am going to do the Control D to duplicate those. Okay. And then, because they're both highlighted right here, I'm going to click up in this box as a rotation angle, and I'm going to give this one 90 degrees. Okay. Now, because it's drawing that box completely around, because I have them both selected as opposed to one at a time, my center node, if it lines up with the center of this rectangle or square, it should end up getting everything correct, which we remember, if I click the center nub here, we remember this was 24, and the height was also 24. Okay. Sweet. That looks about like our pattern. However, at this point, they're not ready to, it's not one piece yet. They're all still individual. So, and it's not going to cut these lines out if we try to make these a path. It's going to try to create holes and things. So, and to be honest, because they're just touching directly on the line, the weld tools over here aren't going to work that great either. So what we want to do is actually give it a little bit of a value, a little bit of material there to be able to weld to. So well, that one's not something. I didn't see that one's not quite lined up. Not sure what's going on there. Let me click it and see what happens. Maybe I bumped it. Oh yeah, that should be at 24. Okay, that's better. I just noticed that when I was kind of zooming in there. Let's check the others. Yeah, they look good. Okay. So the reason I was zooming in there was because I wanted to show you that if I try to weld these two together, sometimes it works, but generally speaking, you have mixed results with that. So the best thing to do is actually grab this thing. And if you use the arrow key and just bump the arrow one direction so that you know they overlap, I'm going to go down with this one. And now you can see that that line kind of got thicker. It barely moved it. It moved it a tiny bit. I think it was at half an inch. It was at 37.5, so it moved it like 20 thousandths of an inch. That is not enough to worry about with a plasma cam. 20 thousandths is way off if we're machining a part in aluminum or steel or something, but for a plasma cut, 20 thousandths is more than close enough tolerance. So if we, I got that one, so I'm gonna click this one, and now I'm just gonna use the arrow key left, bump that one over just a little bit. Do the same thing over here for this one. We're gonna arrow key right, tiny bit, and then zoom out and grab the bottom one and arrow key up. And let me zoom in really tight on this one so you can see exactly what we're doing. See how they start to overlap there a little bit? Arrow key up, there we go. Okay, so that way, now when I'm ready to weld this, I should be able to just cover all of these and do a basic weld now. I think it'll work. Looks pretty good. Want to do the show fill. Make sure we like it, and I'm happy with that. Looks pretty good. Okay. So that guy's basically ready to cut out now. This part is. So that will give us our firebox. We'll have to put it in the press and bend it. We'll have to get a die that's the correct length here in order to use our hydraulic bender, but we could also just bend them by hand, to be honest. They'll bend fairly easily. So we need to make the feet now for the stand for it, for the base. So if you need to, again, pause the video, come back anytime. But if we're here now, we're ready to move on to the next part. So let's take a look at the dimensions we're going to need for that. Oh, we forgot the hole. Let's do that real quick. So back in here, I'm going to do the shape tool. I'm going to drag. I'm just going to do it out here in space. That's way too big, but that's okay. Click on it here. Make sure that I lock my proportional scaling and set one of the sizes. Doesn't matter if you use the the width or the height. If it's a circle, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is I want it in the dead center. So again, this thing's still at 24. Click up here and go to 24. Okay, and it's in the middle there. But if I click off of it, you'll see that it disappears because we have not made those a path yet. So we'll highlight both of those, arrange, make path, and there's the hole punched out of it, drainage hole for water. If you leave this thing in your backyard and you don't have a hole in there, it's going to fill up with water and become a mess, place for mosquitoes to grow and stuff. So anyway, so that's why I put the hole in there so that stuff can drain out. Okay. All right. So let's do the so for the feet, we're simply going to just cut these out individually. We're not going to make part of a bend pattern. We're just going to cut out this piece of sheet metal. We'll cut out 4 of them. So as you can see, it's just a trapezoid also. And then it has another trapezoid inside of it that we're going to cut out of it. So let's go ahead and start with the outline of it. So it's 22. And this rounded to 14 and a half with another 10 thousandths, but we can just call this 14 and a half. And the height is, sorry, over here, it's 4. That'll be later. We'll cut that part out. So 4 is the height, and 22 is the width, and 16 is, oh, no, I'm sorry. 18 is the top width, right? Yeah, I'm getting confused because there's 2 trapezoids we're going to draw. We're going to draw the first one, which is going to be this outline, that's the 18 right there, because that's the width of the box. And then then the height will be 4, and then 22 across. Okay, so let's do that. So 22 and 18. So what's our offset going to be? Well, 22 minus 18 is 4, and so it's a 4-inch offset total, which would mean 2 inches on each side. So let's go into the Torchmate, and we'll go grab our custom parts tool again. I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom, hit the trapezoid button, and this time the height is going to be 4, and the width is going to be 22, and the offset is going to be 2 on that side and 2 on that side, which would be a total offset of 4. And we do need 4 of them, but I'd rather just edit 1 and then duplicate it. It's a lot faster than editing all 4 of them. So I'm just going to add that 1 and process it. And then close it. Okay, and notice that it stuck it kind of to the cross here, our kind of iron cross looking thing that our pattern. We're going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to work with just this for now. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to turn the fill off just for a minute, just because I think it's easier to work with the fill off. And let's draw that inside one. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll draw another smaller trapezoid, put it on here, and do an and/or weld to eliminate the middle, to cut the middle out. So let's take a look at the dimensions for that one. This is the one that will be 16 and 14 and a half with a height of 1.5. So 16 minus 14 and a half gives us 1.5 inches. So it'll be a 3/4 inch offset on each side. So we go back over here, arrange, and I apologize if I didn't pause on that last one long enough to get you the dimensions, but I'll pause a little longer on this one. My graphics freaking out again. Okay, so the height for this one was 1.5. The width was 16, and the offset was 0.75, and the offset here is 0.75. Oops, not 375, 0.75. Alrighty. So again, the offset is how far. If you had a 0 offset, it would go straight up, right? Like if I did the right side offset to 0, that would be straight. If I did 1 inch, it would go that way. So I want it to go in 3/4 of an inch, because the 3/4 on the right and the 3/4 on the left makes the difference of the 1 1/2, which is, this is the trapezoid, is the total width is 16 and the total height is 1 1/2. If this was my software, I might have set it up a little differently. I might have asked for the 2 values, but it's not mine, and I didn't set it up. So, and it works good. It actually works really well. So it's a nice, some of the features in there, you just have to look what it's asking for and give it the information it wants. Okay, let's add that and process it. And let's close it. Okay, and it moved everything around again. So again, we'll move this guy out of our way, just kind of out off the material for now. Oh, I have to apply. There we go. There we go. We'll get that applied. And then we're going to grab this one. I'm having a screen glitch issue here. Something's going on. There we go. Okay, there we go. So let's just put this one, the larger one, in a position where we can edit it. So let's grab it by the bottom center node, because that's going to be the 2 common nodes for both of these guys. And let's just put it at a nice, easy dimension. Let's put it at like a 10 and 10. Okay, it kind of zoomed out of view. It's wider, so it's hanging off the material side, but that's okay. If that bothers you, we can change it. We could put it at 12. Let's do that. Let's put it at 2020. There we go. 2020. What a great year that was. Whew. Okay, now let's take this one. So this guy, let's double check it. The bottom center nub is at 2020. We're going to do the same with this one. Bottom center nub, 20 and 20. And there it is. Okay, now same thing with the weld on this. It might have an issue because that line is really what's referred to in CAD drawings as zero thickness geometry. You can't have 2 things exist in the same space without, and then when you try to make them into a solid, it doesn't really work if there's a 0 thickness geometry. So what we want to do is eliminate that by, this time we bump this one down just 1, right? So if we zoom in really tight, you'll see that it's actually over the line a little bit. Again, it's graphics. I apologize. If I was doing this at school, it wouldn't have this laggy glitchiness, but because we're on this VM where it can get a little glitchy and laggy, but is what it is. All right, so now for these ones, we want to use the XOR weld, because if we click that, that's going to join these and allow me to get rid of that part. So if we look at it with the fill on right now, you'll see that, well, if there's, yeah, there is actually 2 pieces. There's this piece, and then there's this little bit where we overlapped a tiny bit there. So I'm going to delete that one. Okay. And now that guy's ready to cut out. This guy will be ready to cut out, so we can just slide these into our material space. We're going to need 4 of these. So if we duplicate it, Control D, and I'm going to move it over here. And now this would be totally fine because we've designed it to be cut out on this 48-inch piece, but why not save as much material as we can and nest these together, put them a little closer. So if I mirror it, now it allows me to slide this guy over, and if I just use the arrow keys, I can just kind of I can hold the arrow key down and just kind of keep going until it, we don't want to get so close like this that we run the risk of melting one when we're cutting the other. So I like to give a little bit of material between them, maybe ½ an inch or at least ¼ of an inch, something like that. Same thing goes if we wanted to be really cautious, we can move both of them down. But I think I probably would actually move both of these down just a touch. That's a lot of space between here to get eaten up by scrap metal. So let's bring these down a little bit, get them nice and close. And then with them both highlighted, if I do a Control D again, then it just flip-flops, or it creates another set of those. And we'll pop those guys there. And this is ready to cut out. So we'll come over here. I probably should have saved this way before now. I waited. I was flirting with disaster there. But again, P drive, most important part of saving this is that you get it in the P drive. And into our Metal 2 folder. So here's our Metal 2 folder, and we're going to title this one. What are we going to title this one? I got to get the Google Doc pulled up. You guys will have this available for you on Google Classroom. And here it is, Torchmate tutorial. So if we scroll down, it says right here, XX, you replace the X's with your initials, and we're going to call it Fire Pit. So this will be, mine will be TF Fire Pit, right? So, and this one should be 3, which is wrong in your, because this is the third one you guys are doing. So we'll go 3, and I'll go TF, and then Fire Pit. I'll take the caps lock key off. I'll put a space in there, make it a little easier to see. Okay. So it'll be 3 TF Fire Pit, and hit save. And we're done. So if you guys have any questions or need anything on this, feel free to hit me up. Shoot me an email or contact me through Zoom or whatever. If you're watching this in a classroom at some point in the future, just raise your hand and I will come to your desk. That'll be nice when we can do that again. All right. Have a good one.